What's up, Blorp here. If you're interested in improving at competitive Super Smash Bros. Melee, you'll know the importance of reviewing your game footage. In 2022, most local tournaments are running slippi Nintendont, which makes it relatively easy to record games played on a Wii straight onto a USB thumb drive. But here in Colorado, most of the locals I attended weren't capturing replays. Talked to some TOs and they said collecting and sharing replays was just too time consuming. So I decided to try myself and see if I could find a process that didn't suck. And after dozens of tournaments, this video explains the final process I arrived at to collect and share those replay files. To get started, your tournament setups need the following: a Wii with homebrew installed, an SD card with at least 2 gigs, Nintendont Slippi, and a SSBM 1.02 NTSC ISO. You'll also need several FAT32 formatted USB thumb drives. I use 4 gigs. You can get those on Amazon for relatively cheap. You'll need some stickers to label the thumb drives, and I'll go into this in more detail. I just use some colored stickers that I can also write on. You'll need a notebook and a pencil that you'll actually bring to the tournaments. And also you'll want to talk to your TO and make sure they're cool with you running around and plugging USBs into all the setups. Also nice to have is a USB hub. You can get these on Amazon, and a USB carrying case. So before you actually attend the tournament, you're going to need to rename the thumb drives to match the label on the outside. So give your thumb drive a name. I just use colors, but you could use character names or whatever you want. Then just write the name of the thumb drive on a sticker and put it on the thumb drive. That way you'll know the name of the thumb drive without needing to plug it in. Once you're at the tournament, the first thing I like to do is create what I call a setup map, which is just sketching out where all the setups are physically located. And then on that map, I'll annotate which USB goes to which setup. And also sometimes some setups aren't configured with replay, so I'll mark that on there as well. So while friendlies are still going on, I'll walk around plugging in USBs, marking on the setup map which USB I plugged into which setup, and then restarting the setups and enabling slippi file write. Sometimes if you plug the USB after you enable file write, it will fail to boot into Melee. So I almost always just restart the machine after plugging in the USB. So once you've enabled slippi file write on all the setups, you're pretty much done and you can just compete in the tournament. So after the tournament is over, you want to collect all your thumb drives. It's nice to keep the thumb drives used in the tournament separate. I just flip my thumb drives when I put them in my carrying case, but you can use whatever system you want. This is the part where TOs originally were saying the process is super tedious. You want to pull all the files off a whole bunch of thumb drives onto your computer and then share them out. So I ended up writing a program that makes this a lot easier. And what this program is going to do is it will copy files off a whole bunch of thumb drives onto your machine. It'll put them in a folder with the name of the thumb drive. That's why we labeled them. And it will also rename them to something that's a bit more human readable so you can see who's playing in a particular replay. You can pick up the latest version of this program from a GitHub page, which I'll link in the description below. You can also run this tool from the command line, but today I'll just show you the executable. You want to go down to installation and find the latest release and just download this zip file, which will contain an exe. So when you run the program for the first time, you might get this Windows warning. You can just click more info and then run anyway, and it should boot up no problem, and next time you won't get that warning. So the program is going to ask for an output path, which is where you're going to copy all the slip files. And we're going to select all the options. This first option just deletes files off the thumb drives after it's copied, and then we also have the custom drive names and renaming file options enabled. Now that the program is running, it's going to scan for any connected drives, find all the slip files, start copying them over to your machine, and then also delete them off the original drive so you can just use that drive again for the next tournament. This is going to be limited just by how fast your drives are and also the USB connection. So this is where having a large USB hub is super helpful. If you're running large locals with more than 10 setups, having a huge hub just makes this a super easy process. You just plug on all the USBs once and then you're good to go. Now that the program's complete, we can check out that output folder. You'll see that there are drives created for each of the original thumb drive names. And then we have all these human readable files in here. And now we're ready to share this out. And for that, we just use Google Drive. So I'll create a new folder for this tournament. And then we can just drag and drop all of those replay files from our output folder straight into Google Drive. And those will all just get uploaded. So now you can share a link to this drive. People can find their replays by just trying to find the correct setup. I also like to upload just a image of the setup map. You can just use a straight up picture from your notebook. That would also work. So once someone's downloaded some of the replays, they can play them back within the Slippi launcher. And it's pretty easy to add a whole folder into the Slippi launcher app itself. If you just go into settings, you can add a new folder under replays. And then when we go back to the replays tab, we should see that folder and we can navigate through. It'll still have the folder structure, so we can find the games we're interested in, and you can look at stats straight through this UI, and you can also launch a replay directly from this, and that'll launch Dolphin. So that's it. That's the process that we came up with, and it's been working pretty well for the locals here in Colorado. Definitely open to feedback or ideas, and I'll link to all the resources you'll need in the description below. Thanks again. Peace out.